Hi everybody and welcome to the Money Man SA Rugby show. Round 5. Last week, James, I see you brought no notes this week. They didn't seem to help last week.
Yeah, they placed a bit of a voodoo on me, Kevin.
You haven't got your Sunwolves notes?
So what I did is I've got them, but they folded in my pocket.
Okay.
I've got a box of matches here, and it's about the amount that you know about rugby on it.
Yeah.
But James, tough week for you last week.
Yeah, it certainly was. But
just in case you'd forgotten, I want to just sort of...
We have to fight another round.
We are. Got the Sunwolves wrong last week. You picked them to win. You both guys picked the Bulls to win. And
By 15.
By 15, yeah. I did laugh when you guys picked that. And James, you got the Stormers wrong. But you did get Bruce Bokenpaul back as a fan. He's come out of the closet and said that he's your number one fan.
Yes, thank you for the support, Bruce. And thank you for coming back into our domain.
Welcome back, Bruce. Legend.
Was Bruce ever gone? I don't think so.
Anyway, we've got another interesting week. I mean, Mark, on yesterday's show, we chatted and you said that the Brumbies winning was good for the tournament. Not good for punters because the form guide, it's like, geez, how serious do people take the Brumbies now? What does that loss mean for the Chiefs? And it throws everything, the cat amongst the pigeons again when it comes to picking Superbrus and making some intelligent bets on this weekend.
You know, Dave Rennie's a very good coach, and I think he will get something out of the Wallabies that Michael Shaker didn't. It's not that easy to dismiss the Wallabies, looking a bit ahead. They can still put together a good 23 in a one-off test that can be competitive, which is good for the Rugby Championship. I think one of the disappointments for me is the Jaguares, who beaten finalists last year. They went to the World Cup effectively as the Pumas. A lot of people thought they had a chance of actually being in the last four. The inconsistency, I mean, the Stormers were very good to beat them, but the Stormers are not the Springboks. And you would expect the Jaguares to be a bit more imposing after their performance last year. And so I want them to be strong in the tournament. I want 2 Aussie sides to be fairly strong. Obviously, 2 South African sides and just 1 Kiwi side. And then we've got a very good tournament. But yeah, the Brumbies, they've surprised me. Surprised me in how they won against the Chiefs and surprised me in how they lost against, I think, a very shaky Highlanders team at home.
Yeah. Well, we've got an interesting week this week. We've got the Highlanders versus the Rebels. Bookies have the Highlanders favoured by 11.5, which is quite a bit when you look at the Highlanders and the rebuilding year. I guess it's just a reflection on how bad the Rebels have been this year. They've been woeful. I mean, they've lost to the Sunwolves.
And I don't get that because Dave Wessels started off very well a couple of years ago with them. They don't have a bad side when you look at the players that are playing for them. So I don't know, is something going on there? Is there a disconnect within the squad? Because the results aren't indicative of the quality of the players. Absolutely. That are there. And I thought the way they rolled over against the Sharks was also systematic of something that's not quite cool in the camp at the moment.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a bit of a pattern since the All Blacks falling over in the World Cup last year. They just don't have that mongrel or that belief that they used to have, internally or the internal dynamics as players or as teams. And they've shown quite a lot of vulnerability, some of the All Black players in individual capacities.
Oh, and the Highlanders did.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I think you're talking about the Rebels for a moment there.
Well, I think
wrong competition.
Bruce is at home going, what the? It's an interesting game. I mean, 11.5 is a lot of points against what I would say is 2 pretty bad teams.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, I think for me on my Superbru, I'll probably go Highlanders by 9. I think 11.5 is a lot. What about you guys?
Well, I'll go Highlanders to win, home ground advantage.
Yeah.
But by a score, 5-7.
Yeah.
So it's 7 points.
Yeah, I'd go 5-7 myself, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm gonna piggyback on you.
Thanks.
It's okay.
No, I think that's a safe call.
A game I will get up and watch: the Waratahs versus the Lions. Bookies really can't, you've got 15 to 20 on the Waratahs, meaning there's a 75% return, and they're offering 130% return on the Lions. That's going to be an interesting game, I think.
James, it's your team, so would you want to kickstart us there?
Well, it's first game in Australasia for them.
Yep.
They haven't had a good start. The Waratahs were emphatic against the Chiefs. Based on form, I would go Waratahs by 10.
Sorry, bud, but it's the Brumbies who beat the
Oh,
Chiefs.
sorry.
The Waratahs have been diabolical.
Sorry, fucking Brumbies. Sorry, you could have cut that out.
No, we're going to save that.
You saved that one.
No, sorry. I'd go Waratahs.
Yeah,
I'd go Waratahs.
I'd also have to go Waratahs. It's the Lions, I think, up their game for the Stormers. The Stormers didn't play well, so that form is a bit misleading to me. And the Waratahs at home, pretty humid out there, isn't it, where they play?
Yeah, the thing that concerns me a bit about the Waratahs is they took a 20-point beating against the Blue side that I think is pretty average, regardless of that result in Loftus. I think the Lions are going to win.
Okay. How's your Superbru, Mark?
My Superbru is improving every week. I've got the Lions to win because I think that the Lions have potential.
Well, to be honest with you, if you look at the Lions against the Stormers again, there was one intercept try that gave the Stormers the advantage over the Lions.
You see, I've swayed you
So
already.
I'm telling you, the Lions can be competitive, but I just don't think they travel well.
No,
I don't think they travel well. And I will go for Waratahs simply based on home ground advantage.
Bang. Can't agree more,
Bang.
James.
I'm going
Slam dunk. Boom.
I'm going for a Lions win by 7 because I don't think they're quite as cuck as I told James last week.
Yeah.
2-0.
I'm starting to question the amount you know about rugby as well, Mark. And James is absolutely right. The Lions do not travel well. So something about the Afrikaans boys when they go overseas. Maybe they miss their mums. I don't know.
It's when I look at the Waratahs form, I don't think they travel well from home to the ground.
No. Fair point.
No.
But they'll fancy their chances against the Lions, and that to me is the bet of the week. But then again, I got the bet of the week wrong last week against the Chiefs and the Brumbies. But though I think
everyone got that one.
Yeah, I think even the 23 Brumbies got it wrong.
So I am going to pick the Waratahs by a single score, 5 points. Okay. Then we have, James, wait for it, the Hurricanes versus the Sun Pups.
My favorite team in the competition, the Sunwolves.
Bookies say 33.5 points. Now the Brumbies, not the Brumbies, the Rebels dismantled them.
The Reds.
The Reds, God, even worse. The Reds dismantled them by 59 points last week. Clearly a team that doesn't travel well, the Sunwolves. Is 33 a bit too ambitious from the bookies? I mean, you're really throwing out the bones there if you're bookies trying to figure out how many of the Hurricanes are going to beat them by. Because I imagine the Hurricanes will rest a few players for this game. No need to send out the 7th Cavalry to take on the Wolves.
Well, even if they start with the second string side, they've got enough depth, they've shown that. And if they bring on their first stringers off the bench, then it could still very well become a massacre.
Yeah.
So I think that 33-point spread is pretty accurate in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd also go with it. I think 40 plus at home.
Yeah, I would have to go with the Sunwolves. I'd have to go with the Hurricanes plus 40 points. Reds versus the Sharks. But again, the bookies can't separate these two teams. Reds last week after dismantling the Sunwolves maybe swayed a little bit there because I think the Sharks would have been outright favorites if it had been a close game with the Sunwolves. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I'm going Reds to win.
Yeah.
At home. I feel they've got a decent enough pack to trouble the Sharks. And that's the one Achilles heel, I think, for the
There's your real
Sharks.
Stormers bias coming out.
It's the one Achilles heel, AC, that I think the Sharks do have is...
a lot of women just refer to that as the Brad Pitt heel now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the Reds they've got some form now.
The fact that you're thinking is a problem.
Yeah.
It's getting hot in here.
They demolished that Lions pack, and even when they were down to to 13 players at one stage. They were still kind of hanging in there when they played at
100%.
Ellis Park.
And they were dominant at scrum time, quite right.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the Sharks do have a wonderful back division. They play some great rugger. But in that humidity, slippery ball in Brisbane, I know it didn't look very slippery against the Sunwolves, but I've got the Reds to edge them in a bit of a ding-dong battle.
I'm liking the Sharks rugby at the moment. They've scored 2 weekends now for 5 tries a piece, and I like their rugby. They're a well-balanced team. Yes, they have a little bit of shortcomings in their forwards. They can be a little bit lighter in their locks. Their front row is good. Their overall combination between forwards and backs is exceptional. Their counterplay, their counter-attack is absolutely sublime and brilliant. I like them. I think they're gonna come out on top this weekend.
Yeah, look, they're a hard team not to like. You know, they do, like you said, without repeating what you said, they play some attractive rugby. They turn defense into attack very quickly, and they play at pace.
Absolutely. And what's nice is that they're able to, from virtually nothing, create attacking opportunities and try scoring opportunities. And even when they're on the back foot, they're dangerous. And I like their style of play at the moment. For me, the moment they're the best of the attacking teams in the South African Conference.
Yeah, and any coaching concerns that we had at the beginning of the season with a new coach taking over, I think has been laid to bed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Saying that, with the humidity, it depends on how humid it is in terms of being able to play that sort of, because when you look at how they played the Bulls, that was a pretty scrappy game, you know. There wasn't much in it. The Bulls are not a good team. So when I'm looking at form, looking at the Reds, the way that they dismantled the Jaguars in the Jaguares, in Argentina in the first half, only to come undone in the second half. I just think that when you're on tour, it's been a long tour for the Sharks. Last game, they will have felt that it's been a successful tour. And the psychological thing for teams is when you feel that you've accomplished something or what you set out to do on tour, they wouldn't have been looking at 3 out of 4 wins. I think they would have accepted 2 out of 4 wins. So for me, I just think the Reds, with their physicality, it's going to be a pretty low scoring. I think it'll be a low scoring game, and that the Reds will pip it. So I'm going to pick the Reds to win by 3 points on the weekend.
Okay, that's an interesting call. I mean, in my opinion, the Reds are a cuck team. So if there's humidity, they're going to be even cucker.
Yeah,
so,
you wouldn't listen to me when I told you.
Yeah, they so cuck even pick the Sunwolves to be.
But you see, that's why your name is Kevin and my name is James.
Yes,
yeah, we have a difference of opinion.
Well, yes,
but I think the Sharks are going to end off on a high note, and they're going to keep that winning momentum.
I hope so. I hope that this is one Superbru pick I get wrong.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. I'll be cheering for every South African team. You know?
Impressive.
Except for the ones I bet against. Stormers versus the Blues. Stormers favored by 8.5. Interesting, huh?
Conservative. That's a conservative. Stormers to win by 15 points.
Last time you picked a 15-pointer, you saw your arse, Mark.
I know, but it was at last.
And how did the view look?
Not good in that last minute.
Baboon-like.
Not good in that last minute. Look, I think the Stormers pack will be too strong for the Blues again. I see the Stormers systematically dismantling the Blues as the Crusaders did, and the Crusaders have got a very strong pack, well balanced. And again, Kevin and I spoke early in the week. I think the Stormers are really good against the Jaguares, especially in the set phases. I think they'll play a bit more conservatively against the Blues. The Blues want an open game. They want that helter-skelter kind of game. But if you kind of play percentages, build scoreboard pressure when they're away from home, they don't have that ticket to want to fight and come back. They've got 2 away wins on the road, surprisingly against the Tars and the Bulls, but 2 teams that also haven't won yet this season. So I think they'll come undone. And it's a Cape Town factor as well. Those boys love being in Cape Town. They love the delights of Cape Town.
The Bulls have disappointed me all the way so far. I just think they're so cuck at the moment. I don't think they're going to win a single game if they carry on like this. But in saying that...
But they're playing the Sunwolves and they'll win again.
But what I'm saying in terms of the Stormers, I've always been. I think I've been
Easy
more
now.
vocal.
You got Bruce. You don't
I've
wanna
been
give-
more vocal about the Stormers than the two of you
Against the Stormers.
fence sitters.
I'd be very vocal. They'll win every time.
Okay. But if you go look that this was the first game they dominated possession and territory, and they came away with an average win. Okay, previously they didn't dominate possession and they still win. So there's clearly something in that team
That you don't like.
that I don't like, that irritates the living shit out of me. Yeah. But they seem to be competent enough to pull off the wins. They're not a creative team.
I hear that their team talk before each game is
play the videos of Dalton.
That Dalton, what a prick. Would you say?
I think they're a very creative team. If you look at how they
With their one-off runners and just their forward drive
if you look
and
at
their
how
aimless kick-in.
if you look at how they beat the Lions in that last 2 minutes, people call the Springboks a very uncreative team for the way they got to the final. And when they kind of got their forward dominance, they showed they're one of the most creative teams in the world. When they played two channels wide, they kind of brought their runners into play. The Stormers individually have got some fantastic backs. They've got some very good loose forwards.
They
Where
haven't
have they
done much
been?
this year, though,
Where have
Mark.
they been, Mark? Who's their leading try scoring
I'm
team?
not saying that they're playing
Jamie
the
Roberts?
best creative rugby. They're doing enough to get the wins, to get the 4 points or the 5 points. They're unbeaten after 4 rounds. They'll be unbeaten after 5
But remember,
rounds.
you've got to start scoring tries because eventually it's going to get to a point you can't carry on defending. You've got to start scoring tries to land up winning in knockout range stages and land up winning the final eventually. And they're not scoring tries. And if they are, it's all intercept or opportunistic stuff.
Yes, I disagree with you on that. Did you go watch that Hurricanes game, the first one?
Okay, that
Did
was
you
one.
watch the way they came back against the Lions?
Are we going to talk about the swallow and the bird again?
The swallow is a
I
bird.
think they've been very good. And I say that when I look at how they've been for the last 3 years. They were a hit and miss team. They would win at home, always take a beating on the road. Great character to come back and win the game the way they did in the last minute. And, that thing of, in sport, good teams win when they shouldn't. And they lost the plot in the last 50 minutes against the Lions, but somehow managed to conjure up a win. Again, I just thought they were so dominant for 60 minutes against the Jaguars. And when the Jaguars turned it on for 10 minutes, you could see the quality of that side. But that defense kicked in again, and they scramble for each other. They've got something, that South African word of gees. They've got something brewing that is special within their
You
sort of
cannot
squad.
fault their defense at all, but the attack is far from as impressive as the defense.
But
The attack will get better.
any defense that's giving up an average of 2.3 points a game is pretty good. What would it take?
What are they averaging per game?
What against defense?
Yeah,
2.3.
2.3. Okay.
Look, what would it take the Stormers to do to get you and Bruce to come out of the closet and wear some blue and white?
Look,
When they lose to the Lions at Newlands, you know what
Probably
I'm
a
gonna say?
probably
They're
a-
actually a good side.
probably a frontal lobotomy will get me to support them. But no, look, they are a good team. They're certainly doing all of the things to get the victories week in and week out. Yeah. But also, they've still got to go on tour. I think it's going to be a messy affair. The Blues are, I've said, they're probably one of the cuckest New Zealand teams, or they are the cuckest. But they're going to bring it to the Stormers. I think it's going to be a close encounter. 7 points.
And like you say, Cape Town's one of those magical places that you come to and you're so distracted from the task at hand in terms of the beauty, the Russian ballet, all the side attractions that Cape Town has to offer. The mountain, the sea.
The thing that they're going to be most distracted by is that Stormers pack.
Stormers pack is dominant, certainly so.
And Damien Willemse, he's a wonderful talent. Let's keep on investing in him. Let's say to him, play your natural game and make mistakes.
Speaking of Jamie Roberts, how was he last weekend?
Much better.
Didn't he get man of the match?
Much better, but I also think...
I think it was him coming into studio.
Well, we haven't had him.
Didn't you?
he was on the physio table. It's a good thing for him.
Well, it's nice for the Stormers because I know at one stage they were concerned with Dearlendi leaving. Yeah. They did believe that there was a void in that position, and it's nice to see that he's coming and fulfilling that role quite nicely in terms of getting over that gain line.
Yeah, he's solid in defence. Huh?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And his experience is probably having an an intangible impact that the average person can't see in the way that he helps the younger players around him. So, you know, the sign of any good player is how they help and improve the people around them. Saying all this, you know, it's a tough game to call for me because, you know, we don't know what the weather's going to be like. But I will go with the Stormers by 7 or more. I'm not so confident it'll be a beating because they just haven't shown, like James said, they haven't shown that they can score a lot of points.
26-11, 15 points. I just looked into my little
I think I'm going to put a private eye onto you and see your movements in the week and how often you go to Newlands or sit at Dobbo and maybe get some backhanders for all these.
What would be nice, though, even doesn't matter how they win on Saturday, is if the press asks some sensible questions and stop treating it like a funeral procession if the Stormers win. Because, like you say, Mark, after the 4-0, there's not much more you can do than 4-0. For a country that is so passionate about rugby, sometimes naivety is shown through in the way that people criticize certain things, or maybe their expectations are just unrealistic. Because you know they beat a pretty good Jaguars team on a slick field. You know, it was raining that game.
Well, it's effectively, as Mark said earlier, it's like a Pumas team.
Oh. Okay, so what are you, James? You're saying you're going Stormers, but a close game.
Yeah, Stormers by close.
I think so too.
7.
Bulls versus Jaguars. -3.5. The bookies have the Jaguars favored.
Yeah, I'm going to go Jaguars. I've just lost all faith and belief in the Bulls. I've backed them week in and week out. No, I just think Puerta's out of touch with the new game.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's.
Nothing personal.
No, but that's my opinion on it. That seriously is my opinion on it. And I think it shows in their performances.
No, look, what amazes me is how anybody is expecting a lot from the Lions and the Bulls this year. Clearly, they're both they've lost a lot of talent over the last year or 2 years. So I don't know how people expected the Bulls all of a sudden to be this competing team. You know, so I don't know why people are surprised.
Well, I said the Bulls are going to be the worst performing team in the conference.
You did, and then you say that you're surprised. You have no faith in them.
I mean, I had, obviously I played for the Bulls, so there's a little bit of loyalty to them, and it's important that the Bulls also are competent in the South African conference for SA Rugby as a whole.
Yeah.
So far not good.
Yeah, I can see this being reasonably. No, it can't actually be a high-scoring game. I think the Jags will beat them by double digits, and it won't be pretty for the Bulls again. Their confidence must be pretty bad. There was a massive expectation they would beat the Blues.
I think the Bulls' highlight last weekend was that tackle.
I actually couldn't believe that a Blues kicker kicked the penalty because their goal kicking's been woeful this year. I think it's been about 50%.
Yeah.
So,
but it's easier kicking at Loftus. It's probably one of the easiest stadiums to kick at.
Lose the altitude. Ball certainly travels a lot further there.
It does, hey?
Yeah.
Yep. So there you have it, folks. That is just whatever James has picked, just go the opposite and you should be okay.
Stick with me, I'll make you famous, baby.
Mark, James, thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure.
It's me. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.